And we are back for the third fight of the night here at the Ethlete Championship Series Rumble Season 1, Episode 2. It's Diamond versus MCV. Q, they might be some newcomers, but they got some great pictures.
Got some, the MCV got himself a picture, boy. I tell you what. I guess he's self-described as Jesus, I guess, apparently. So I love to see the role playing on the picture here as well. But yeah, you mentioned both of these fighters here. They are making their debut. And one of these fighters is going to be able to walk away from this fight with their first win of the season.
That's got to feel good. I mean, you bring in the confidence, and we are going right on into it. As per the rules of those first two fights, again, we're playing best of 10 rounds here. We'll get to watch the scorecard, and the fighters will get a 60-second extended break after rounds 3, 6, and 9.
Let's get on down to it here. Of course, we had the big boys in the last fight here. We're going to go with more of our, I would imagine, tactile fighting here, going with the lighter fighters. And I'm kind of curious, Lama, how are you feeling about this matchup at first glance?
It's an interesting one. I feel like when you look at especially George Linares, you get the lightning hands, you get the speed, you talk about the lower weight classes usually have some of those faster perk abilities, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily just about the fighter, but we saw it in the last fight. It's how much you know how to play your fighter, especially with those bans flying in. We don't know if these two players play these two in ranks.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see this time around. Unlike in our last two fights where we've seen like a mismatch, like when we talk about within the reach and stuff, not so much this time around. So two fighters, when we look about their stats, at least enough, but going to be kind of, right along the same sort of thing. So I'm going to be interested to see as far as how our two fighters are able to use what they've got at their disposal here. End of the round or end of first round here. And I feel like both fighters have done a pretty good job of at least landing a couple of blows to be able to show a little bit of presence.
That's what you got to do. Set the pace, especially in these early rounds. We saw it in the last fight, especially. You win the first or second, and then you shake up your opponent. You get to do some building damage already, and you're seeing some headshots already fly on through to MCV.
Yeah, MCV already taking a little bit of damage and also doing a good job of distributing out in their own right, but end of round number 1, and neither fighter, no, actually MCV going to take a couple more headshots there towards the end. George Linares is doing a good job of coming up. I feel like George Linares is doing a really good job of, pushing the pace in the center of the ring.
Definitely was, and we've seen the fighter that's been able to control that center, be able to play the footwork just a little bit better, really has been able just to control those fights a little bit more, but it's the first round of your ECS debut under your belt. You got 9 more to try and win the fight.
Yeah, you got plenty of time here, and of course we're going to get a couple of those looks at the scorecard like you were talking about here. I don't think like either fighter has to worry about anything just quite yet, even if you are, maybe MCV don't feel like that first round went in your favor. I don't think it's too much to feel like it was too outlandish on the other side. I mean, we see MCV playing with confidence in the middle of the ring, and I think that's what's most important early.
Confidence is key no matter what position you are in. Unfortunately for MCV, does have to back a little bit up. Take some body damage, doesn't want to risk it, especially because usually most fighters are going to be more likely to block that noggin. So let things reset and make sure you're able to stay up on your feet.
Halfway through round number 2, and kind of what we are used to seeing, at least when we have the, I feel like the lighter fights here, right? Got the featherweight this time around. The early rounds really going to be more about just simply trying to feel out the opposition, try and get a couple of points here and there. It's going to be interesting. I feel like this is going to be another one that goes the distance, Llama. Maybe even one of those fights, at least from what we're seeing early, that gives you a little bit of bonus round.
I'd love some bonus rounds, man. We haven't got to see it all day today, especially in these shorter fights. I will say for MCV, taking some damage in the head is literally at the furthest danger zone it could be. Of course, does have that Blood and Guts Warrior perk, which reduces the chance for the referee to stop the fight by cut by 25%, but also increases your chances of getting cut by 10%.
So we'll see if that happens to come across here. I mean, especially at the rate that we're seeing, George Linares is able to do a good job of being able to land those shots. Oh, there's going to be a right hand that comes across there from MCV. Also, their nice little left hand to end things off here as well. And I mean, I feel like through the first 2 rounds, I mean, as much as MCV has landed some shots, I think I gotta lean the way of Diamond here.
It feels that way too for me. It feels like MCV has landed big shots, but again, it's been consistency from Diamond right in the center of the ring, and we've seen the damage build up, especially on the body from MCV, which can be even tougher than the jawline being cracked going in towards those later fight rounds. Of course, as we know, after this round number 3, we and the players will both get a look at that scorecard.
So you look at it here, but we still have 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in round number 3 until we see that. Both fighters landing some shots. Was MCV who lands? I think it was a left that we had seen there, but now kind of standing back and getting back towards the edge of the ring. I feel like showing a little bit of respect as far as the opposition who's still sitting in the middle of the ring like, hey, yo, bro, let's get this thing going.
Let's get it going. Let's get this fight heated up here. There's only about 90 seconds left to go in our round number 3. Of course, we do have to mention that it is this debut for both of these two players. They're fighting really, really well, especially for Diamond, who has been able to just find these openings when MCV is guarding more of the bodies, landing big hooks to the head. And that's what you really need. You said it. The big word is confidence.
Confidence allows you to play with the sort of push forward that's needed in a scenario just like this. Head damage, though, starting to become an issue for MCV after that last shot there from Linares. And able to cover a little bit as Linares doesn't push the pace, but lands another right hand, and that meter for the head damage continues to blink red.
Oh, it does not look good here, but in the waning seconds, we know that Bell is just around the corner. The players can see it as well, but that head damage is slowly recovering, but will be a detriment to build up over time. You're seeing a base value. It's not even there, and a big connection from Diamond. Wants to push the issue, but it's ding, ding, and no down to the mat.
Saved by the bell, because it looked like if you had another 10 seconds there, I think we are going to see our first knockdown. Now, we talked about being able to see the scorecard here after round number 3. Well, that's the round that we just saw here. So our fighters gonna take a little bit of time, talk to their, the coach is there in the corner, trying to see if they can devise up a game plan. By the way, that's not actually coaching in the corner. Imagine, though, that'd be kind of cool. But see if they can put together a nice little game plan to turn things around. I think especially if you're MCV. I mean, you saw you were close to a knockdown. You probably don't feel like the scorecard's looking at your advantage either.
No, probably not. And also, look at the stat bars right now. The head damage is almost a 4th lost at base value. You have the left swell, and we've been seeing players average about 5% stamina usage throughout each round. That's 26% of the stamina bar down in just 3 short rounds, Q.
That's a lot. It's a lot being expired here. And then when we got to look on the other side as far as for Diamond, it was looking quite a bit different. And the scorecard kind of reflects that as well. A 3-point difference here heading into round number 4. Of course, we did talk about I think, we've seen that you have some flashes as far as for MCV where they've shown they had the ability to put pressure down, but you've got to find some way to let that translate to the scorecard.
Got to try and find something here. And of course, the scorecard, we'll see it again after 6. We'll see it again after 9. And still some time for these two fighters to be able to build things back up. For MCV, it's not necessarily been aggression, but MCV's going to get dropped. It's a quick flurry from Diamond.
Diamond able to land some big shots here, and that's going to be the first knockdown in fight number 3. It only draws us a 4 count here, so you can see quickly getting back up to the feet and ready to get right back on into the fight, but that's going to be more damage on the scorecard where you were already playing from behind.
It's going to not feel great. What a bit further behind on the scorecard, and I'm kind of a hater of Gotti's kit. You have the lion art, which is increased ease of getting up, but man, Q, why do you want to get cut and have ease of getting up? I would rather have fast hands.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough kit to be playing with, but you know what? You got to take what you got, and MCV trying to make the best of it work. Has to make sure that they can stay up on their feet here for the final 30 seconds here as well, because Diamond has slowly walked them towards the corner as much as we have seen MCV be able to move back towards the middle of the ring here. 15 seconds. Wouldn't be surprised to see George Linares try and up the pace. A flurry of shots, able to land one to the body, none to the face though, which is what allowed them to get that first knockdown. And I think at this point, Diamond is going to be happy with what unfolded here in round number 4. They're going to go to their corners.
Gonna be pretty happy. We'll get to see that flurry again, and it was just out of nowhere. We talked about MCV. It's that buildup of damage. Didn't have the strongest head because took some shots towards the brain in those early 3 rounds. For Diamond, you're feeling really good. You didn't use too much stamina in that last round. You're controlling the fight. You're feeling really good in confidence. And the other thing is, we always talk when we look at the veteran players in ECS about hiding damage. Your opponent obviously can't see the stamina, the damage bars on the body and head. We saw there at the end of that last round, Diamond hide both their damage bars really well and still play aggressive.
True, was doing a good job of pushing forward and being able to up the ante. And I mean, we still see doing a good thing kind of similarly here. And instead gets the flash, moves forward, but a nice right hand from MCV to counter.
Turn the tables with the right hand, and now it's Diamond who's on the back foot. A couple of body shots will get there, but after 2 flashes, it is nobody on the mat. Diamond is still at big risk though.
Diamond has to still be able to keep back, lands a couple of shots moving forward, but it's MCV open again. Now it's going to be Diamond who finds one. It's back and forth, left hands. Neither of them have much stamina to be able to work with here. Both just trying to see if they can knock down the other, and it's MCV who puts Diamond on the mat.
Man, what a turn of events here. It is just one after another of those damage bars faulting the players. And eventually Diamond is the one, the sweat and blood falling down face first on the mat. That's going to be some huge points for MCV, especially halfway here in this fight. You're confident, but also, man, they're just swinging for the fences.
I was going to say, if you're MCV, you can't play too confident, because if you take a knockdown here, that takes away that advantage that you just built up on the scoreboard where you are playing from behind. And there it is, the right hand from Diamond going to put them down.
We'll see a replay of it again, because it's just been the big shots towards the head. And the problem this time for MCV, didn't have the counter punch and was trapped in the corner. So we'll see another knockdown there for MCV. They'll go to their corners once again. And of course, after this round number 5, we do have to mention we've got one final fight on the night. iPro versus Donnie in that ECS championship. It's going to be a good one.
A fight for the strap after this one. One of these 2 fighters here in the ring currently going to leave with the first dub on this season so far. And thus far, it feels like Diamond has been the one who's really come in looking to try and do just that. Oh, I was worried because they were just standing there for a second. I'm like, no, please, no, DC at this point. But instead, still in here. MCV, though, has shown some flashes here. And we're getting in the meat and potato rounds. Round number 6. If MCV can turn things around here, they still have enough time.
Got to play a little bit tactical to try and turn things in your favor. We'll get to take a look here at the scorecard after this round and see those adaptations as we head into the final back half. For MCV, we'll have to see, though, if they can keep pouring on the pressure. Had a win, it felt like, in that last round until they got knocked down late. But these fadeaway hooks, time and time again, are catching Diamond off guard.
Fadeaway hooks have really been doing a number. That's what MCV has been trying to rely on, and the question is, do we see Diamond make the adjustment? There's only left here in round number 6. MCV basically just sitting in the middle of the ring like, come get me, as Diamond, though, does have the lead. Feels like MCV should be the one pushing the pressure.
Definitely feels like it, but here it is. It's a great touch here, and MCV's on the back foot, but again, the bell goes ding, but no, it's on the ground. They go. This time, not going to be as easy to get up, but does on one knee.
Able to get up on the 5 count. You mentioned, going to be a little bit harder to get up from this point. I do believe, I was going to say went down, though, where there's not going to be much time left on the clock, but 9 seconds. And now it's to this point. It's Diamond standing in the middle of the ring. Final seconds finally tick off the clock, and it's crazy. We saw there, what was that, in round number 4? 4 where MCV was able to get the knockdown, just unfortunately turned things around the opposite way. Diamond's been pretty well in control from the word go.
Got a couple big knockdowns in rounds where they made mistakes too to really step the favor back their way. So we'll see. 66% of the stamina bar available for Diamond. If we get a chance, I'd love to see MCV's stamina bar because we were a little bit concerned about it, using so much in those early rounds and still not able to get it back. But there are still a couple rounds left. And for MCV, I love the counters, but the problem is you gotta find a way to get in. It looks like a possible cut, though, building up here in George Lenara's face.
Could be potentially just a little bit. Of course, those cuts, we've seen them come into play in the past. We've also seen where you get an early cut, maybe even in around 1, 2, maybe even 3, and it still doesn't progress that past that first level there. So only time will tell if that becomes a factor, but we are 6 rounds through it. And as for now, it's an 8-point advantage on the scorecard.
Not a single round lost for Diamond, and in 4 and 6, won them by 2 because of those knockdowns. Of course, for MCV, we'll have the late game perks trying to go their way, but we'll see. It's a great touch again from Diamond, but MCV's the one on offense. The battle to the body, the gloves are up to the face, and MCV doesn't get the knockdown.
Oh, but a flash again here, an opportunity for MCV, and it's going to be Diamond retreating back to the corner once more. Going to be able to ride this thing out and going to be able to stay upright and vertical here as well. Back into the middle of the ring they go, and as much as George Lenara might have been dazed a couple of times, one more shot to the face might give them the open opportunity to put MCV down on the ground.
Oh, MCV has just been offense, but still yet to find the knockdown they want here in this round number 7. Sure, you might win it by a point, but you need to get more than that. You're down by 8. You have to push the pressure, and there it is again. MCV, for the 3rd time in the round, will get going forward, but again, not be able to get the knockdown.
Oh, and that's got to be so frustrating too, especially being in the situation that MCV is on the scorecard, realizing that you either need 4 rounds here, 7, 8, 9, and 10, all with a 2-point advantage, or you're going to need the knockout here. If you're going to complete the comeback, you find the days. A 4th one here for MCV, but it's going to be Diamond who is able to cover up and find themselves a way to safety.
And MCV has just been trying to go for broke on every single one of those attempts, trying to go for the headshots. The 5th time in this round, and MCV cannot get it done. Not a single knockdown, but Q, that's got to be at least a 2-point win, but it feels bad to not get the knockdown.
Oh, yeah, you know, I think I might have to lean to that being a 2-point round for sure, but I have to agree with you 1,000%. If you're MCV to get 5 potential opportunities and capitalize on none of them, I think that's got to be a record for our live shows.
I mean, that could have been a round where, let's say all 5 of those actually do become knockdowns. That could have been the end of the fight, realistically, if it was all 5 of those connecting. For MCV, though, that's a boost of confidence. You're down 8 points. This is the first round you've won, but you're running out of real estate. You've only got a few rounds left to try and keep this pressure up.
Try to see if you can keep the pressure going, because it has to be compounded down in these finals rounds here. Just got to make sure that you keep yourself upright in your own name, because you do know that MCV has taken a substantial amount of damage through the course of those first 6 rounds, no matter how good round number 7 looked. And man, we've had some good fights, Llama, and I know that last one, the scorecard was tight, but when we talk about fight of the night quality, I feel like with the way that this thing has gone back and forth, it might be a contender as well.
Oh, I mean, definitely is. With how back and forth, it's not been one-sided either. It's been Diamond with those early knockdowns, and then MCV coming back to bring some life here in towards the ring. It's definitely going to be a contender. Of course, if you want to be a contender for a belt, this is a big match for a debut of both of these two. And MCV, even though they're trapped a little bit in the corner, is kind of baiting Diamond in.
Yeah, I think trying to see if they can get Diamond to overextend it just a little bit. I think also hurting just a little bit in that stamina department, so doesn't have the ability to really push forward the way that we saw in them having that success in round number 7. Instead, has to sit back and eventually will find themselves on the mat.
Down on the mat, doesn't feel great after what we just saw was that fantastic performance in the last round. We'll see if the bounce back could be there, but even after all that work, it felt like MCV put in that round number 7. Round number 8 might have just turned it the opposite way.
We'll have to see how things are looking after, well, one more round. We don't get to see it until after round number 9, which for MCV, you have to still realize that you have to push the pace no matter what the scorecard you think might look like after those last 2 rounds, because you were playing from so far behind after round number 6 that you just have to almost feel like it's KO or nothing, even though technically, there's a slim chance.
There's a slim chance. I mean, we saw it in that last fight. Never give up, never give in, keep on trying to fight your way through. It does look to me, correct me if I'm wrong though, Q, it looks like MCV is flat-footed.
Does look like that might be the case here, which I think we were talking about earlier is harder to kind of work out of the corner when we saw him sitting back at bay. I think that's why we've seen them slow their pace down, which is unfortunate here because they've got to be the one that pushes the pace. Oh, a big turn. That might allow from, big shots from both fighters here in the middle of the ring.
They both stumble backwards. They say, okay, reset. Our game recognizes game, but MCV ain't done. The head again on just one sneeze away from falling to the ground, but Diamond is the one to get the first. The reverse shot from MCV keeps him out of danger and puts the pressure on. The dip in, the continual pressure is good from MCV, but we said it, flat-footed, doesn't have the stamina, but hits another.
Right hand comes across from Diamond as well for the counter. And this are 2 fighters just going blow for blow in the middle of the ring. And MCV is the one that has to push the pace. They have to find some way to put Diamond back on the mat. They haven't been able to do so just quite yet.
Oh man, haven't found it just yet, and 15 seconds left to go. MCV had some chances, but it's just been one of the best back and forths. One final chance here, 5-0, and uppercut will do it and send Diamond to the mat.
Diamond finally goes here to the mat, but the question is it too little, too late? We'll be able to look at the scorecard here in just a couple of seconds, but you can see how quick that the recovery is able to come across there. I don't think the next knockdown is going to be the one that results in a KO. I think you're going to need a couple, and with that being so close to the end of the round, that just lets you know that that's it. These 2 fighters go to their corner. They get to take their little bit of a break. There's only 3 more minutes of fight left.
3 more minutes. We'll get to see the final scorecard, and oh, what a fight it has been. So back and forth. The counter punches are landing from both of these 2 first-time fighters here in ECS. And this is it. This is your chance here for MCV to try and stake your claim, even though you've been behind. I'm excited to see this scorecard. I don't know how well those rounds did go because of not getting that knockdown, but we'll have to see when time tells us.
Time will tell us here in just a couple of seconds, Llama, but when we look at the stamina, we can see from Diamond, and knowing that MCV is still sitting flat-footed, the fact that MCV is going to be sitting behind on the scorecard. The question isn't about if it's behind. The question is by how much, and it's a 7-point difference here. For MCV, it's knockout or bust.
Oh, if it is knockout or bust, and you talk about going back to that round number 8 where they were able to get so many opportunities but weren't necessarily able to capitalize on them. It could have been more, it could have been better, but it is go or go home right now. 2.5 minutes for MCV. You have the damage buildup, you just don't have the stamina to fight back.
Yeah, you just have nothing in the tanks to be able to capitalize on the little bit of extension that we are seeing from Diamond, and Diamond knows it. Stepping forward, big combo, body, and the right side of the, left side of the face off the right hand here. And right now it's a flurry, and it's MCV down on the mat.
MCV, this isn't going to do them well in the scorecard, and it's also going to burn more time off the clock that you don't want to waste. Well, at least be able to get up after the 8 count and get going. But here's the problem. You need to keep the fight up. You're going to go in these next couple seconds with damaged lungs, and you need to try and find a way to fight in this final 60.
Man, this fight here has been a nice little appetizer for our main event, which is coming up next, the title fight. But you know what? I think Diamond is going to try and find a way to end this thing in a KO in round number 10. The question is, will MCV find his way to his feet?
MCV 7, 8, 9, and KO. We will not go the distance. Diamond, after all the effort, the battle back, it is enough to take their first ECS debut W.
Able to pick up the dub and pick it up with a KO as well. Had the cut early, didn't let that deter them from putting their face in there and continuing to lead with shot after shot after shot. And when you look at the scorecard, I mean, really controlled the pace of this fight through, I mean, the first 2/3 of this thing.
That was some good control, and honestly, a really, really good fight. Like you said, definitely the top of my list right now for fight of the night. And just the back and forth between these two fighters, the counter attacks. You're seeing, of course, MCV able to hit a lot of those straight away shots, but it was on the other side that the combos, the build-up, the hooks, and I feel like that early damage and the early confidence kind of threw MCV off their game.
Yeah, that, and I mean, they used up a lot of stamina early too, so as much as they were late, I feel like they started figuring out a good game plan and strategy towards the end. They just didn't have the gas in the tank to truly be able to put their game plan to complete play. And I mean, MCV definitely showed some fight. Hopefully we get to see them again on a cast sometime later on, but I mean, big shout out. You got to give it to Diamond. I think especially for Diamond, who had the control, quickly started to see it slip almost a little bit. Llama, we've seen where sometimes fights can truly turn in an instance like that. So to be able to kind of recover, go, hey, you know what, I'm fine, and then finish things off with a KO, masterpiece.
And you talk about the danger as well. You talk about one of those rounds, MCV had 5 flash chances to get a knockdown. If you imagine, like we said, if every single one of those hits, I don't think you're coming back from the mat later in those rounds when you did fall down to it. So to be able to just have the momentous decision to say, I'm not going down, I'm staying up on my feet, was huge.
So that's fight number 3. Down, done, and dusted. You can see on the highlights those last couple of knockdowns, which eventually led to the knockout that we will see here. And our first knockout of the evening. The question becomes, Llama, will it be the last knockout of the evening? Now, Llama, we do also have to talk about fight of the night. I think we had ourselves a choice before that last fight. And, you know, as much as I do want to give credit to Donnie for the fighter pick, I think when we look at fight number 3 between Diamond and MCV, the electric back and forth we had, especially MCV with the comeback, had the one round where you had 5 flashes, weren't able to get a single knockdown. I think Diamond put on the type of show alongside MCV for fight of the night. Want to get your opinions?
Yeah, that's my vote. I think for Diamond and MCV, that's almost the fight of the year, the fight of every event we've ever had. They were going back and forth, dazed after dazed, and I love to see not only this back and forth matchup, but a really good tactical battle between 2 brand new fighters to the ECS that have been putting in work off screen to be able to come in here. So that's definitely my choice as well.
Definitely got to roll with that. So big shout out to those 2. And that's part of the reason why it's fun to make sure you come in here and put your best foot forward each and every time. Maybe there's not a fight on the, or a belt on the line, but you can still get fight of the night, get a little bit of extra credit for that as well. A little bit of extra merit around the scene. But again, big shout out to Ganta working in the background as far as for production. Make sure you give a shout out to everybody. I mean, Cash doing the work that he does in the back as well. Make sure every time you see him in the Discord, you give him that big old verbal, or not verbal high five, but digital high five there here. And man, next month in October, we're going to have episode number 3. Might be a little scary, October. Make sure you guys come prepared, get involved in the Discord. But until we catch y'all back here for the next one, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all, that's Llama. I'm Q. For the rest of the crew, from the front to the back, Y'all have a great rest of your week. Peace.